Hey guys, my name is Petey and I hope you're doing awesome. Today I'm excited because I want to talk to you guys about a very important topic. In Christianity or a lot of areas of Christianity, there's a lot of people who believe in this theology that we have come to know as prosperity teaching. All right, and today we want to test that. I want us to look at that. I want us to see, is prosperity teaching something that the Word teaches? What does God say about it? How are we to approach our wants in life and our needs in relation to God's heart? Because that is so important. This is one of the most important spiritual lessons that we can learn as followers of Yeshua. And it's really awesome because even in the Old Testament, God starts teaching about this. And today I want to delve into Numbers 11, and I want us to go there because there we're going to get a very clear picture of God's heart. Because the Old Testament is awesome because it is what came in the beginning, it is what God gave us as the foundation on which we can build on. Now, I know that prosperity teaching is a New Testament concept generally. But the reason I'm diving into Numbers is because if you do not understand the Old Testament, you cannot read the New Testament. I would in fact say that you will not understand around 3/4 of the New Testament if you have not got that foundation of the Old Testament. So before we even look at the New Testament, we need to see what did God say in the beginning, because everything that we read in the New Testament is being built on that. Paul himself was a scholar of the word. He knew the Torah and the prophets by heart. He could recite them. So now we can't recite it, but at least we can look at what he studied and what he knew by heart, because then we will be able to really see what Paul and them are speaking about. Right, so Numbers 11, let's dive right in. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, "Who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it, and ground it in mills, and beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of oil." So, context: Israel, they're in the wilderness. There's nothing. It's dry. There's none of the nice stuff that they had in Egypt or in the world they have anymore, because they're in this wilderness right now. But God is providing for their needs, and God is sending this amazing manna from heaven. And it's so interesting because he describes what it tastes like. He says the taste of it was like fresh oil. So basically, guys, it was good. It's like fried. if we can say it that way, it was not a bad tasting thing. That's what the writers Moses is kind of getting at. But the children of Israel, they're like, you know what? We don't want this stuff anymore. We want the melons. We want the garlic. We want the cucumbers. We want the stuff that we had in Egypt. God, we want it. And so when we read on with the story, Moses goes to God and he's like, "God, these people, why have you left me with them? They burden me so much with all their whining and they're complaining, because these people are complaining nonstop about this issue." Right? And Moses goes to the father about this, and the father says, "You know what, Moses, I'm going to give you a few elders with you to help you carry this burden, first of all." And then the father says, "Moses, so listen, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give these people what they want. They want flesh, they want all this stuff that they had in Egypt, whatever. I'm going to give it to them." And there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey from this side, and as it were a day's journey from the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. So these quails come by a mighty wind, and they fall like on the side of the ocean, like crazy amounts, but basically burying the ground under these quails. The people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, as it was being chewed, the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people. And the Lord smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people that lusted. Now guys, this is crazy. So the people asked the Father, Lord, give us this, give us this. And the Lord's fine, you know what, I'm going to give it to you. And he gives it to them, and then they get hit with a plague. And there's actually many people that die from that plague. Now, why would the Father do this? You know, this is such a weird thing for the Father to do. You know, how can this good God of Israel, who's so loving, do such a thing? Right, guys, so what we need to understand is that there is a great difference between a want and a need in the eyes of the Lord. You see, the Lord promises throughout His Word that He will give us our needs. He will make sure that we have everything we desire. We won't go hungry. We will have shelter. All the things that you need, the Father will provide for you. But now when it comes to wants, a want is something that the Father doesn't say that He will give it to you, and because it is your right, He will give it to you. You see, grace is not something that you deserve. Grace is something that is given to you in spite of you not deserving it. But see, now when we go to the Father and we say, Lord, you know what? I deserve this. Lord, you know what? This thing that I want, God, this nice car that I want, Lord, I deserve it. You need to give it to me, Father. Lord, give me this car, Father. Lord, you know how much I tithed you, God? You need to give me that car now because I've tithed a lot for you. Does that sound familiar? It sounds just like the demonic prosperity teaching of the churches. Guys, today I'm calling you out. Listen, we need to depart from that, because what happened here is the same God. We're talking about the same God of Israel that we as believers in Yeshua, Jesus Christ, the Messiah, that same God is the one we are knocking on the door of and saying, Lord, you need to give me this. God promises that He will fulfill your needs. And He will do that. He will care for you. If you keep His commandments, He will look after you. So guys, I'm not saying that having a want is a bad thing. For us to want something is not wrong at all. For you to desire something is not wrong at all. But what is wrong, if you confuse a want with a need, and you treat your wants as needs before the Father, saying, Lord, you know what, this want, you need to fulfill this. If you say, God, this want needs to be fulfilled, that is where the issue comes in. You see, and there's a very fine line in that. And guys, I want to submit to you that if you humble yourself by the Lord's feet, and you just say, Father, thank you for everything that you've given me, both my needs and everything that I've wanted in life that you have given me. Lord, thank you, thank you, thank you. When you come to the Father with that heart of gratitude, of being like, Lord, I didn't deserve any of this. Lord, this is just your grace. This is just your mercy. Lord, this is the only reason I have this. If you come to the Father with that, guess what, man? That's when the Father will give you what you want. He will give you the desires of your heart. If you delight yourself in the Lord, He will give you the desires of your heart. Now, to delight yourself in the Lord means that you will have the Lord's heart, because delighting in the Lord is not just saying, Jesus, I love you. Delighting in the Lord is walking as He walked, obeying His commandments and being changed into the image of Christ. And guess what, guys? The image of Christ is not someone who said, Lord, you need to give me this Ferrari. Jesus didn't drive Ferraris. Jesus slept on the street, man. Jesus said, you know what? He could have been like, hey guys, make a nice line, I'll heal a blind eye for $1. I'll raise a dead for $2. He didn't do that, guys. And he could have used all that nice money and bought himself a nice house. Oh, am I stepping on toes? But this is what we're doing in the gospel today. We satisfy our flesh. You see, this is the issue here, is they're saying, Lord, I want you to satisfy my flesh. That's what they're saying. Lord, all that stuff that we had, Lord, that great stuff. And God is not against melons. God is not against cars. God is not against onions. He's not against garlic, right? God is not against desires, and He's not against wants. But God is against your complaining. You see, they were in Egypt. They had God take them out of bondage, out of slavery. He did miracles for them. He destroyed the Egyptians. He destroyed Pharaoh. He saved them, and He's now caring for them with this manna, and now they're complaining. Now they're saying, I don't want this manna, Lord. I want a steak. Lord, I want some onions. I want some garlic. We complain, and they say, Lord, you know what? All that stuff you did for us, yeah, that was nice, but you know what now, Lord? I want this. I want this. I want this. And that's the culture we live in today. It's the same thing. We have pastors on pulpits saying, God will give you this and this and this and this and this because God wants you to have all of these things. And this is a list of wants. Wants and not that. Guys, God is there to meet your need. That's what He promises. And when He meets that need, you delight yourself in Him, you humble yourself under Him, then He will look at meeting your wants and He will give you the desires of your heart. This place that they're going, this promised land after the wilderness, it's going to have all that stuff that they want right now. It's going to have that. But see, God is filtering out those people. Right here, people died from the plague. And so this is a filter mechanism God used to filter out the true bride of Christ from those who are just along for the ride. You see, and the question is today, are you going to be along for the ride? Because all these people falling for the prosperity teaching, they're just along for the ride. And they're going to fall by the plagues of God. They're going to fall by the lust of their own flesh. Because, see guys, this plague was not God coming and just being like, hey, I'm going to hurt you guys or whatever. This plague was God just being like, you know what, I'm just going to give them over to themselves. I'm just going to give them over to the lust of their flesh. I'm just going to give it over. I'm done protecting them because they clearly don't want my protection. They clearly don't want my intervention. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave it. You know what? That plague was most likely just some kind of a consequence, filling themselves so up with the lust of their flesh that there was nothing left for the spirit. They probably didn't even thank God when that want was being met by God. So guys, don't let God give you over to the lust of your flesh. Humble yourself under His hand and submit under His guidance. Let Him give you the right thing at the right time, because you don't want Him to give you something that's going to turn your heart away from Him. Because there's a lot of things that we want that is actually not God's will for you to have yet. Because He knows that if He gives you what you want, that want that He gives you is going to be the very thing that turns you away from Him. And so when He doesn't give you that want, sometimes that's actually more grace and mercy than what it would have been if He had given it to you in the first place. Wow, guys, how amazing is it? The grace of the Father. Now, don't depart from that grace. Don't depart from that mercy by going and taking that into your own hands and being like, you know what, Lord, you need to give this to me, God. You need to give this want to me. Because guys, even if we say that sentence, it sounds wrong. So how can we go and teach that? How can we go and expect that from the Father? He's only there to protect us. He loves us. He's not there to withhold something from us that we're going to miss out on or whatever. The Father is here to protect us, and He's here to care for us, and He's here to grow us into His image. And if sometimes that means that we're not always going to get what we want. Sometimes that's going to mean that we need to sacrifice something on our part, because Yeshua had to sacrifice a lot. And He didn't sacrifice a lot so that we don't have to. He sacrificed a lot to show us, hey, we need to sacrifice a lot too. And sometimes that's our wants, what we want in life is a part of that sacrifice, And guys, when you make that sacrifice, you'll be surprised at how many times the Father sees that you are humble enough to receive what He really wants to give you. Because guys, the Father wants to give you the desires of your heart. He wants to, but He needs to have your heart in the right place first. Because if your heart is not in the right place, the desires of your heart will not be in the right place either, and then that's gonna make you fall. So alright guys, may God bless you and keep you, man. May this give you guidance on this, man. This is so important. We need to be able to separate our needs from our wants, and we need to be able to bring this to the Father in humility and trust Him that He knows best, man. He really knows best. We're so clueless. His ways are above ours, and we need to learn that lesson. Have an amazing day, guys. May God bless you and keep you. And subscribe to this YouTube channel for more of this, and I'll see you in the next video.
My heart